Today, we're diving into one of the funniest, most underrated fairy tales ever told. Clever Gretel. Now, this isn't the Gretel from Hansel and Gretel. This Gretel is a whole other level of genius. She's a quick-witted, food-loving servant girl who manages to outsmart not just one, but two grown men, all for the love of roasted chicken. It's a hilarious German folktale from the Brothers Grimm that showcases humor, cunning, and the playful side of human nature. Forget dragons and epic quests. This story is all about delicious food and even more delicious trickery. It's a comedic masterpiece that feels surprisingly modern. So, if you're ready for a good laugh and a story about a girl who's way ahead of her time, stick around. Let's meet the characters who make this tale so unforgettable. First up, we have our star, Gretel. She's a servant girl, but don't let that fool you. She's sharp as a tack, incredibly confident, and has a silver tongue that can talk her way out of anything. Her two great loves in life are good food and a good prank, and in this story, she gets to enjoy both. She's the kind of character you can't help but root for, even when she's being a little mischievous. Then there's her employer, the master. He's a generally kind fellow, but let's just say he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. He's easily fooled, which makes him the perfect target for Gretel's schemes. Finally, we have the guest. This poor guy is just an innocent visitor who has no idea he's about to walk into the middle of Gretel's master plan. These three characters create the perfect recipe for a comedy of errors. So, here's how the story unfolds. One day, the master tells Gretel he's having an important guest over for dinner. He asks her to prepare 2 plump, juicy chickens, roasted to perfection. Gretel gets to work, and soon, the most incredible aroma fills the kitchen. The chickens are turning a beautiful golden brown, sizzling in their own juices. As she tends to them, Gretel thinks, I should probably taste this, just to make sure it's seasoned correctly. So she takes a little piece. It's delicious. Maybe just one more bite, she thinks, to be absolutely sure. Well, one bite leads to another, and before she knows it, temptation takes over completely. Gretel doesn't just taste the chicken. She devours one entire perfectly roasted bird all by herself. Oops! Now she has a problem. One guest, one master, but only one chicken. Just as she's trying to figure out what to do, she hears the guest arriving at the door. Thinking on her feet, Gretel rushes to meet him before he can come inside. With a look of sheer panic on her face, she whispers, Sir, you must listen to me. My master invited you here with a terrible plan. He's waiting for you in the kitchen, sharpening a huge knife. He plans to cut off both of your ears. The guest, seeing the sincerity and fear in her eyes, is absolutely horrified. Why would anyone want to do that? He doesn't stick around to find out. Without a second thought, he turns and runs for his life, disappearing down the road as fast as his legs can carry him. With the guest gone, part 1 of her plan is complete. Now for part 2. Gretel runs to her master, looking completely distraught. Master, master, she cries. The most terrible thing has happened. Your guest, he just burst in, snatched one of the chickens right off the platter, and ran away with it. The master is furious. How dare his guest be so rude? Steal his dinner? Unthinkable. Without stopping to question Gretel's wild story, he grabs the remaining chicken and shouts, well, he can't have both. And with that, he dashes out the door, chasing after the terrified guest, waving the single chicken and yelling, "Just one! Just one!" Of course, the poor guest looks back, sees the master chasing him with a knife, or so he thinks, and hears him shouting, "Just one." He assumes the master means he only wants to cut off one ear, not both. This only makes him run faster. And so, the scene ends with the master chasing the terrified guest down the road, while Gretel stays behind in the quiet house, a smug smile on her face. She has successfully tricked them both. She got to eat a whole chicken, and now she has the entire evening to herself. The story ends right there, with Gretel, our clever anti-hero, having completely won the day. It's a perfect example of situational comedy, where a simple lie snowballs into a ridiculous farcical chase scene. The two men are left in a state of utter confusion, all because of Gretel's quick thinking and insatiable appetite. It's a brilliant, self-contained little comedy that leaves you laughing at the absurdity of it all. Let's break down what makes this story so brilliant. The humor is driven entirely by Gretel's masterful manipulation. She doesn't use magic or brute force. Her only weapon is her wit. The story uses playful exaggeration, a common feature in German folklore, to heighten the comedy. The master isn't just a little gullible. He's completely clueless. The guest isn't just worried. He's running for his life over a misunderstanding. This is a classic comedy of errors, where two innocent people are pitted against each other by a third party, and neither of them has any idea what's really going on. Through this, the story playfully explores some very human flaws: Gretel's gluttony, the master's gullibility, and everyone's capacity to jump to conclusions. Despite her mischief, Gretel is incredibly charming. You admire her cleverness, even as you shake your head at her audacity. So, what are the major themes at play here? The most obvious one is cleverness versus foolishness. Gretel is the embodiment of street smarts, while the master and guest represent a more naive, trusting nature. The story celebrates her intelligence, showing how a sharp mind can easily outmaneuver those who don't think critically. Another big theme is humor in everyday life. This isn't a grand, epic tale. It's a small, domestic situation that spirals into chaos, reminding us that the funniest moments often come from simple, relatable human experiences. Of course, human temptation is front and center. Gretel's inability to resist the roasted chicken is what kicks off the entire plot. It's a relatable flaw. Who hasn't been tempted by something they know they shouldn't have? Finally, the story is a masterclass in miscommunication and misunderstanding, showing how easily things can get twisted when people don't have all the facts. But is there a moral to this story? It's not as straightforward as something like the tortoise and the hare. On one hand, the tale seems to reward Gretel's bad behavior. She lies, she steals food, and she gets away with it completely. It celebrates her quick thinking as a tool to solve a problem she created herself. However, you could also see it as a cautionary tale. It uses humor to teach us about human nature. It shows how greed, in Gretel's case, leads directly to dishonesty and creates a web of chaos. It's a subtle warning that while cleverness is a great asset, using it for selfish reasons can cause a lot of unnecessary trouble for others. The story also touches on the fragility of trust. While it's played for laughs here, in the real world, the master would eventually figure out what happened, and his trust in Gretel would be shattered. So, what's our final takeaway from Clever Gretel? It's a story that reminds us not to take everything, or everyone, at face value. It encourages us to think critically and question what we're told. But most of all, It's a celebration of wit, humor, and the delightful chaos of human nature. Gretel is a timeless character because she represents that mischievous, clever spark that we all wish we had sometimes. She's a reminder that sometimes, the most powerful tool you have is a quick mind and a good sense of humor. It's a story that has been making people laugh for centuries, and it's easy to see why. It's short, it's funny, and it's brilliantly clever. What do you think? Is Gretel a hero, a villain, or just a hungry girl who's smarter than everyone around her? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.